And we are on the air. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Film Geek Primer Live. I am one of your many hosts, John Santo. With me, as always, is Dub. Sir, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. There should only be one host. You can't have many hosts. You're the host, and with you is...
I am your host, and with me, as always, is our stunning panel of cinematic intelligentsia. Dub, how are you doing?
And Dub. You should introduce it that way. Stunning panel of internet intelligent or cinema intelligentsia and Dub.
And how are you doing?
Because all he knows is freaking.
That's okay. I should have clarified probably through somehow in simpler one-syllable words what the topic was, but I swore I responded to you on that one.
All right.
So how are you doing?
I'm doing well.
Great. Okay. Good. Moving on. With us also, Shu. Shu, how are you, sir?
I'm doing well, Santo. I think that a show... we're kind of missing something at the beginning here. I think a show should have a theme song, so if you'll oblige me for a moment.
Please.
Hold on.
This is going to go on for like an hour. This is what happens when you have somebody who's into prog rock. He's just going to like do it over and over again.
Well, you know, I think we need a 17-minute version of the Film Geek Primer theme song.
That was very good.
With a wooden kazoo.
Oh, is that what that is?
This is my oh, really? This is my instrument of choice. I'll be happy to bring it every week, or others like it.
All right, sounds fair. Sounds fair. So
now the theme song has happened, so clearly we can move on to our next esteemed panelist. I sound like the host, not an esteemed panelist.
And we'll come back to your the accoutrement of your fine set that you've been building.
Do you yes, or do you want me occasionally, if you hit a segment that tails out, you want to say, Schuster, provide us with some music out, and from then I can provide music back, and I can do that if you want.
I appreciate it. I like the idea of you adding musical bumpers to it, but no.
Let's put a pin in that idea.
Yeah, exactly. We'll table it for next week.
That's great. And when we're talking about something else.
Joining us are our audience member slash
current esteemed panelist,
who has yet to be given a nickname, and we'll figure this out in time. Mr. Warren Graff. Warren, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. I did not bring a musical instrument. I didn't know that was part of the requirement.
Pick it up.
Again, I did not send out an email properly. I apologize.
Oh, wait. I do have my drum set over here. Hold on, guys. Give me what I set up.
Is that a piano?
Oh, I didn't realize I have my didgeridoo. Hold on.
That's all right. Santo looks like he's got a clarinet there that blows smoke.
I know. Yeah.
You have to jam with Sty Snoodles with that thing.
It is my Jabba the Hutt. It's my Jabba the Hutt smoking device now. Because I decided to upgrade or downgrade. I'm not sure which version, but it keeps me calm.
You graded. The important thing is you graded.
Yes, that I did. Anyway, so Warren, everything is going fine with you, sir?
Yeah, everything's going good.
Cool.
Happy to be here.
Well, that's cool. And apparently we still have one viewer. Maybe one of us. We're not sure. I think it's. I do think it's Dub, but he's looking.
I'm not on the page anymore. I'm officially the viewer.
Congratulations, viewer. Perhaps you can enter our contest and join us next week on this panel, because that just is how it works. Our goal is to try to keep it so it's always 0 in our chat room. Not saying you should leave, but what can happen is we'll have a contest, and then we will just let the panel expand until we are about, call us Legion, for we are many. Anyway, so Dub, you wanted to start off with what we've been watching this week. Is that kind of your angle?
Yeah, I think that's a good way to start, especially since I haven't seen anything. It'll be nice for me to hear what is good out there. Although I could talk a little bit about Bug, if you wanted. I could talk about Bug. That movie Bug that came out like 6 years ago.
Oh, I saw that movie.
Anyway, Santo, you saw Divergent, apparently.
I did see Divergent. Not by choice. I
didn't realize you were a 14-year-old girl.
Neither did I, man.
That's not fair. Just because he has a collection of training bras does not make him a 14-year-old girl.
No. That's just my souvenir collection from my I did. Okay, so
It's called evidence.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, shh. Just stay out of the freezer. Okay, I'll throw out something. Divergent is horrible. Now, I get that I'm not the target audience. I get that I'm not a woman looking for a character to empower me and go, oh, that's awesome. And I agree with I actually enjoy the Hunger Game movies, so don't think that I'm not into this kind of stuff. But the world of Divergent is bullshit. It collapses under the lightest bit of scrutiny, and all of that made this film like I got so frustrated with this movie because the people who are smart can only come up with the most boring plan, which is basically just a giant coup. They talk about how everybody is supposed to be like broken off into these different. So they've got like, oh god, I can't even remember what the sects are called, but you've got 5 of them, which are like the farmers, who are basically hippies and they're always happy. You've got the thugs, who are basically
it sounds like an editorial comment on Colorado and Washington.
Wow, yeah, and actually, they don't really say what they grow. You've got like the subordinates who somehow lead the government because they're there to always help people, but that's all they really say about them. They've got the thugs, they've got the brains, and then I forget who the 5th group was. Which it
was like a security service, right?
Well, the security service is the thugs. That's who. And that's
so on Film Week Marquee, they had this great line where they said, yeah, and then one of the groups is like a cross between the Secret Service and X Games enthusiasts.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. So
it just totally cracked me up. Like I could picture exactly what that group of people was. Riding around on their rollerblades, doing flips and stuff.
Well, so what did Luc Besson direct this?
Yeah, no, it's actually what your image is very close, because the introduction of those characters it all takes place in Chicago in this fenced-in area, and for some reason they didn't build the fence out far enough to protect the farmers. So you need your security team to protect the farmers from whatever the hell is out there that they never explain. But so the introduction of the security kids is she's like the farmers and they're always happy, and you cut to the farmers out in the fields picking and they're smiling and shit.
Songs.
Right, and then comes the security group, whatever they're called. So in comes the train, and all these kids dressed in like Gap black clothes bullshit, and they're like and they're smiling too. So they seem about as happy as the hippie farmers.
Hey, they're doing what they were meant to do, right?
And they're jumping off the train, smiling and rolling, and they're all running together, high-fiving and bullshit. And so it's like, and Shailene Woodley gets all googly-eyed, going, "Oh, they'd be a really interesting group to be a part of." And it's like, but they're the killers. I mean, their job is to murder people and beat up and do whatever else to keep the peace going on. So it's really. Job. It is their job, but it's really tough to get behind a character who says that's who I want to be. And then it gets, and then the whole thing gets really confused. It's like for some reason that's supposed to become your personality trait. So
she's kind of like Rolf from Sound of Music, where she's an impressionable kid. She sees the Nazis and she's like, I want to join that group. Yes. I want to be a part of that.
Yes, this is the American remake, non-musical of Sound of Music.
Joined up with the police.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. Exactly. You're right. It allows me to legally beat people up. Yeah, that's very much. So
you're saying it's as good as Sound of Music as well?
Yeah, it's about as good.
No, I think what I'm saying is that it's a combination of Sound of Music and A Clockwork Orange. It's like that mashup.
Wasn't that just the Sound of Music?
Anyways, the movie's horrible. I couldn't stand it. It's rooted in the source material, though. I mean, Shailene Woodley's excellent, given what she's got. It's just the source material is crap and makes no sense, and like I said, the world building in it is ridiculously stupid.
I'm so glad you warned me against that, because that would have been like a huge problem for me watching that movie.
Yeah,
is that world building not holding up to any kind of scrutiny?
Yeah. Oh, and it's like right off the bat, you are like, wait a minute, but why are they so this way if this is what they're supposed to be? And the whole selection process. So she's got to go into to
like
decide.
Sorting.
They've got a tester. Yeah, well, it's not even sorting it. Yeah, it's the psychological test, right? And they test her, and it's Maggie Q who plays the tester. and she's, of course, this is in the preview, so I'm not spoiling anything for our one person. Is that she, oh my God, you get out of here. Well, what was the answer to the test? It was inconclusive. What does that mean? You're a divergent. Now go quickly. And then you run into Maggie Q later, and she's a tattoo artist. So like somehow this person is a tattoo artist, but has the qualifications to be an official tester that's going to decide a person's life.
Hey, I dole out destinies 9 to 5, 5 days a week. What I do in the off hours,
that's your time.
I like to do tats. That's what I do.
Yeah, and then the tattooing in the future is just they put a patch on you, and they sit there and talk to you for about 30 seconds, and they remove the patch, and all of a sudden, so there's no artistry involved in any of this either.
It's just a rub-on tattoo.
Like carefully apply this exposition to you.
Yeah, completely. Yeah, it's just the whole thing is ridiculous. And then the sets were. It's an $80 million film, but everything's shot inside hangars for the most part, and they just change the color depending on what location you're at. And the supercomputer is like 4 computer servers with dry ice smoke coming out of the top of them. Not a joke.
That's awesome.
Not a joke. Yeah,
is it John Carpenter's Divergent?
God, if it was John Carpenter's, honestly, Ghosts of Mars makes more sense in this movie. But yeah,
when Ghost of Mars is on TV, I sit there and watch it.
Yeah, me too.
Really? Well, yeah, I tried.
Sit here and tell you it makes sense.
Oh, yeah, I'm not going to say it makes sense. I just enjoy watching it.
Yeah, I tried watching
it,
but it didn't fly. And then the other, let's see, there was one other thing in Divergent that just blew me away. So of course you're, quote, predestined to go to whatever of these groups, right? And through these tests. And so, but at the same time, it seemed they never make that fit properly. So the kids all sit there with the family, and of course, if you're not part of your group, it's the last time you're ever going to see your parents. So if you're a farmer and you go to the security team, goodbye, folks. And so they all walk up and they slit their palm and they drop it into one of these bowls.
A butter churn.
That each represent, close. That each represent one
butter
of the groups.
Is made of people.
And nothing keeps anybody. They sit there quietly. Kate Winslet goes, but you have freedom, of course, to choose whoever you like, or whichever group you like. It's that whole dubious. But what if so my example to somebody was like low IQ Lloyd, right? Goes up there. He goes to get that guy. Yeah, he goes up to get tested, and they're like, oh, Lloyd, you're supposed to be a farmer. And they go to the ceremony thing, and Lloyd walks up. He's like, I want to be security, and just drops in security instead. Or no, I want to be a smart guy. And so now Lloyd is part of the smart group because he's dropped his blood in that bowl. Exactly. And Lloyd is like stuck. It's like, look, I made a bomb. They're like, Lloyd, that's your shoe. And,
that sounds like it would be a way better movie.
I would have watched Low IQ Lloyd's Adventures through Divergent Land. I would have been with 100%. Anyways, it doesn't matter. There's going to be a sequel. The books are huge. People don't care. So good job. As long as Shailene Woodley, I guess, is making a couple bucks, and she's solid. She's a solid actress. So, and the direction was fine. Neil Berger did an okay, decent job directing it, but the source material itself is just weak. So let's jump on Warren. What have you got for us this week?
I saw the Budapest Hotel.
Oh yeah.
It was awesome. It was great. I kept watching that movie thinking to myself, there are so many amazing set pieces in this movie. Like every room they walked through and everything. I was like, this must have cost a fortune because it all looks like detailed and yeah, I loved it. It was funny and it was clever and I like the fact that all the celebrities were in it. No celebrity was in it for more than 2 minutes. Like nobody had more than 2 minutes of screen time.
Right. Yep.
Except for Ray Fiennes and the kid, and it was. I loved it. It was great. It was. Yeah. It had this old timey feel, but it was more like an old book than it was like an old movie. It felt because it was kind of 2-dimensional in everything from its effects to its just its style. It just had this. It was just like a cool old feel to it. Except nobody had any accents.
No, they all talked in their normal accent.
They talked whatever their voice was going into the movie. That's what they talked like.
Was the emotion 2-dimension as well?
No, because it was comedy, so it wasn't. It was you felt for the people. It wasn't.
You felt enough.
Yeah, you felt enough that it was. Everybody I thought did a great job, and even like Harvey Keitel, like there's some parts where he's a little bit ridiculous, just sitting there being Harvey Keitel. Essentially, it was like it was like he could have been in Mean Streets for all it just could have been anybody.
He did not change up who he was one bit.
And I was a little uncomfortable that he was like it was like he was big, shirtless Harvey Keitel sitting in front of you. That was like, I'm like, is this chest flexing? What's going on? Like, it was just, or is that just like old man flap? I'm like, what's going on?
We've seen a lot more Harvey Keitel than
just. I know. Yes. I've seen well, man, I can't remember. What's the movie?
Bad Lieutenant.
Bad Lieutenant. Yes, I've seen Bad Lieutenant. Both Bad Lieutenants.
Yeah.
You saw a second Bad Lieutenant?
I saw the one with Nick Cage.
Yeah, that one's a blast.
Yeah, that one's crazy.
Yeah, that one's totally apeshit. So I've discovered who our viewer is, and we've received our first piece of criticism.
A cease and desist order.
Boring show, says scientist Steph. So
it's because she doesn't get a shout out in this one.
Obviously, for a scientist, yes, this is going to be boring because you're so smart.
That's because she unfortunately missed my entire thing about the Malaysia Air not being the one that disappeared, being us. And then getting
that was scientific.
That was totally scientific.
Scientific-ish.
So quickly, where New Budapest or Grand Budapest Hotel? Where does that rank on your Wes Anderson list? Actually, what is your favorite Wes Anderson film? Just to kind of give a litmus test so people kind of grasp where you're coming from.
I always love Rushmore. Like whenever I go back and I watch it. Royal Tannenbaums, I kind of go back and forth on. Sometimes I love it, sometimes I don't. But some people really love that movie, so I always kind of feel weird saying that I kind of don't love it sometimes.
There's a devout group of followers out there for it, but yeah, I was very kind of meh on it.
Yeah. But this one's up there. I mean, this is, I think if Rushmore is my favorite, this might be number 2.
Yeah.
The reason I asked about the emotion is because that's one of my big faults with a lot of his weaker material, is that while and I think I raved about this last week. Well, I just absolutely adore his style. Like, I just love the way he makes everything look. Even the comedies, if you don't care about the characters, even if they fall flat, they don't mean anything. So, like, the emotional peaks in Rushmore, though it was, a lot of comedy, really carried some weight. And even in Royal Tannenbaums, there were only, like, 2 or 3 moments of real emotional weight, and the rest of it just felt like filler. So like Gene Hackman was really good in that, and his story was really interesting. But anytime he wasn't on screen, it was kind of boring.
Yeah, I think maybe the emotional. Then you might be a little bit disappointed because I feel like what is meant, not to give anything away, but what is meant to be the emotional crux of the movie with the boy.
The romance of the piece.
The romance it doesn't like. It feels like it's blown off in some points. Like I feel like where it could have been paid off, a lot of the stuff is kind of like expositionally discarded.
Yeah, there's not a lot of time. There's a lot more time devoted to the chase and caper aspect of the movie than there is actually the romance, and it definitely takes a back seat. Which is a shame because, of course, when F. Murray Abraham, who plays the boy as a elderly gentleman, has his last line about why he stays at the hotel, that should be the real kind of gut punch kind of piece.
Yeah, but it's not. At that point, you've kind of already figured it out, and you're just like, okay, yeah.
So am I the only one that hears F. Murray Abraham's voice and hears Homer when he's trying to race home to see?
So F. Murray Abraham.
Yeah, with that stern tone.
Yeah.
F. Murray Abraham.
So, all right. So you would recommend Grand Budapest Hotel?
Oh, yeah, for sure. And on a side note, my parents saw it, and it's not a movie that I thought they would like, but they loved it.
Huh. Wow. It reaches everyone.
Yeah.
Great. Cool. All right, Shu. You've been seeing quite a bit of stuff. Which of the plethora of Dollar House movies that you saw would you like to throw at us?
What did I see? Yeah, I think I saw Hercules pretty recently.
Yeah.
And I think I also saw Jack Ryan, Shadow Recruit. Now, it's probably important to explain a little bit here for a moment. Since I live in this backwoods, cactus-riddled community called Tucson, Arizona, everything I do is based on what is referred to as sort of a West Coast feed version of film viewing. because you fancy Californians, you Angelinos, can just throw money all over the place and you don't really care about it because you're all making more money than any of us can even begin to try to fathom and imagine. You can go to first-length prime showings of the fanciest films that are out there. When you're a poor bastard like I am, you have to settle for $1.50 on random Tuesday nights after 9 o'clock, and then you get your dollar cup, and so you're spending a grand total of $2.50 to see a flick. But the sacrifice you have as a result of that is that it's about 2 months later or so.
You're living the dream, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Right. I think you just described a situation in which we're all very jealous of you, and not one in which I'm constantly forced to throw money around.
Yeah. I don't like to go by myself to a movie and spend $30.
That's not the world I want to live in.
Well, it's a divergent world, apparently.
Yeah, cut my head. Tucson, Arizona! Drop it in Tucson, Arizona!
Tucson, go! We have crappy roads and cheap movies! Woohoo! And Dillinger days. We have Dillinger days. One day I'll explain.
We have crappy roads and expensive movies.
Yes. Okay, Jack Ryan, Shadow Recruit's actually not bad. It's directed by Kenneth, what's his name? I don't know how to pronounce his damn name. Is it Branagh?
Yeah.
Branagh?
That's exactly right.
Blah. And it seems that he does a really fine job of caring about the material and making relatively decent and almost immediately forgettable films. That's how I basically thought about the initial four, and that's how I pretty much think about this one too. It's fine. It's got all the pieces. It's got all the trappings. It's relatively easy to watch, but the moment that it's over, you don't remember a damn thing about it. It's basically an origin piece, and yeah, that's that. It's not a bad watch. It looked good. It covers the bases, and there isn't a damn thing about it that'll stick in your head much beyond once you leave the theater. I think I was most fascinated with the time that it was released, which I think is January or February, somewhere in that neighborhood, as opposed to what was actually taking place on screen. Although I was fascinated with kind of and his directing an attempt to try to explain that Russia is really like the Wild West in terms of their capitalistic approach, and how they how life really is relatively meaningless behind what used to be the Iron Curtain. I also saw Hercules, which was directed by Rennie Harlan, and who, amazingly, I guess, still has work.
And you're saying the full name of that movie.
Hercules, directed by Rennie Harlan, who amazingly still has work?
No, but it is equally complicated.
Yes. Hercules did have some complications going on. And yet, it's one of those things where recently I also saw... the movie title is not Son of a Bitch, but I can't remember what it's called, so I'm going to say Son of a Bitch.
Not I, Frankenstein?
Yes, I, Frankenstein. Thank you, John Santo.
You mistook for Son of a Bitch.
you act as though you and I talk about this stuff occasionally. And I, Frankenstein is such a complete and utter mess that watching Hercules shortly thereafter makes it look like relatively competent cinematic fare, which I suppose it is. So
Harlan knows what he's doing.
Sorry,
I'm
sorry. Hold on one second. Really quick here. I just realized that Scientist Steph's text was not about her watching our show, calling us boring, but the musical written by Barry Manilow or some horse shit like that is apparently very boring.
Oh, wow.
So she's not watching us. The Barry Manilow musical, and she says the Barry Manilow musical is boring.
Right.
But would this be boring?
All right, you got to stop there for copyright reasons.
Right, we're gonna get popped.
Yeah. So anyway, viewer who disappeared.
I don't even know what that was, so it's okay.
Viewer who came back. We apologize for thinking we were trying to Steph. So stick with us. The show is not going to get better, but we will keep moving forward. So quickly, Shu, Frankenstein, I / that. Switch that. Let's hear it.
I'm almost tempted to see Divergent to see which was more of a disaster.
Ooh.
Really?
Yeah.
And sorry, and Rennie.
But I probably won't see Divergent, so and I don't know if you'll see I, Frankenstein, so we may never know which was more of a disaster.
Yeah, no, we aren't. I think that's one discussion we will probably never have.
It sounds as though, based on your description of Divergent, or Divergent in case I'm not doing it justice, that it makes about as much sense. So, that is a takeaway. Maybe it's a little less in terms of overall time, and I paid less for it probably than you did Divergent, so it's I, Frankenstein is likely a better film.
You win the financial battle, sir.
Proposition.
Yeah. So
I still haven't seen Wolf of Wall Street's at the Cheaps now too, so I have to get around to checking that out, and hope to see The Hunger Games in a week or two.
I was going to say Wolf of Wall Street boils down to basically $0.25 an hour if you're paying $1. But
I'm about trying to cheapen entertainment as much as I possibly can. You can tell because I play the kazoo.
That's right.
I think for Wolf of Wall Street, I think you can just go see Goodfellas again, and it's pretty much the same thing.
Maybe that's a discussion for another time. How many Martin Scorsese movies are really Goodfellas?
Right, most of them.
Most of them. Since Goodfellas came out, yeah.
Since Goodfellas came out, it seems like there are a lot more Martin Scorsese movies that look like, or I'm sorry, as my good friend Bobby De Niro would refer to him, Marty. A lot of Marty's films are a lot more like Goodfellas, it seems. Once Goodfellas was actually made and has been as critically accepted and a part of our film canon. Not canon as in the shirt that John Santo is wearing at the moment, but canon as in iconic in our modern film landscape. That Marty has decided, any script that sort of reads like some variation of Goodfellas, maybe that's a movie that I can do.
Well, I was actually going to back you up on that by saying the scene in Kundun where the Dalai Lama caps that guy.
Right.
That's that when kind of blew off topic there.
Funny how? How am I funny?
How am I peaceful? You tell me I'm peaceful. I want to hear how I'm peaceful.
You said I was peaceful. I just want to know how I'm peaceful.
All right, Dub. Do you have like a Snow Buddies or a Space Buddies movie? Any of those you can recommend to us?
Terrible I've seen. No, but I've been starting to get exposed to, and I've been scared of this since the very beginning. Live-action children's television.
Are you going to talk about Lab Rats? Is that the deal?
Well, that's one of them, and that I would describe as watchable. But he's added a few more to the mix that are unwatchable, and it's tough because the only other thing I've actually been watching and consuming, and I don't want to talk about it because I feel like one of you guys is going to spoil it, is the first season of House of Cards.
Oh.
I have 2 episodes left. That is sophisticated, mature, grown-up entertainment, like at every level. It's smart people doing smart things. It's taking place over 13 hours. It's fantastic with great actors, with great everything. I'm just absolutely loving it. And then during the day, I'm watching Kicking It, about a group of wisecracking teens whose dojang gets taken over by a professional skater. It's so tough.
Right, we're gonna leave that one there then. So that's interesting.
That sounds like Divergent.
Yeah, I finally did it. For the first time, I had to tell Isaac that he couldn't watch something, not because it would give him nightmares, which is sort of the fear, but because it's just too horrible for me to sit through.
It's going to give Daddy nightmares.
Even in the background, and I sat through Pokemon, which is bad. That is bad entertainment right there.
Oh God! All I have to deal with at work is Pokemon because that's for some reason that's such a huge game. Actually, I discussed
in its native habitat.
Got it. That's fair. That's fair. I'll give you that. Okay, so no support, no love tonight for Divergent or Kicking It. We'll give a non-passing grade. We'll give a very passing grade to Grand Budapest Hotel, and I Frankenstein. Hercules gets a laugh shoe. I mean, would you like as a joke? Is Hercules so bad it's good at least?
Oh no. I
got an idea. What if you start at absolute zero, and that absolute zero is I Frankenstein?
Okay, absolute zero.
On the Kelvin scale, how many I Frankensteins is Hercules?
Oh, Geez. Well, that's a difficult scientific math question because technically if you're starting at 0, then you don't have a number that you can work it up. What are you trying to trick me here? You're trying to prove that I'm a film geek and not a math major? If you want to start at a 1, then maybe I can give you a number based on that. But if you start at 0, Dub, I can't do anything with that.
How many I Frankensteins is Hercules?
3.5.
Okay.
And how many?
At least 3.5 times better. So let's take the I in I Frankenstein, pretend it is the number 1. That way the math works.
Now, how many?
I don't think that's how math works, but I'll let you run with it for a while.
Hold on, just
3.5.
Just so we can turn this into a weird word problem. How many Hercules is Jack Ryan?
2.5.
Wow. Okay. So.
Okay. You hit it hard with that half.
I would say 2.654.
All right.
Wow.
Warren, 2.654.
Correct.
Times 3.5.
Correct.
This is riveting podcast right now.
There's nothing like math to kill a podcast.
Seriously. Anyways, that's the homework.
Hey, you know what the fans like?
That means that Jack Ryan is 9.289 I Frankenstein.
Wow, that's good. That's a lot of I Frankensteins.
Yeah, it's not too bad.
Can I just confess how much I enjoyed that process right there? Quantifying movies by other movies.
To quantify it, how many I Frankensteins did you enjoy that process? I'm sorry. Wait, no, I Frankenstein. How many Grand Budapest hotels?
All right, so here's what we're going to do. From this point onward, we've created our first private joke, which is every movie we will now rate on the I Frankenstein level. And then
with the metric being Hercules is 3.5 I Frankenstein.
I Frankenstein
2.5 Hercules, and
exactly.
I mean, we've got some basic numbers we can start working with.
Right.
Facts. These are now facts.
They're now
mathematical facts, is what you're saying.
This is like
eventually this is going to show up on the TED podcast.
You're changing the facts on the ground.
You know what I think you guys are doing? You guys are ruining next week's Cosmos for me. This is what you're doing. You are ruining it for me by telling me like how he's discovered the Big Bang Theory, and if Neil deGrasse Tyson starts going, if we had 700,000 I Frankensteins in the whole of Saturn, you guys just ruined it.
Oh, I would so watch that show daily. The I Frankenstein meter.
On that show.
All right, so the I Frankenstein meter has been created. Congratulations, Shu.
Well, let's see. I think we can come up with more meters. If you see 3 movies in a week, you've got to compare them that way.
This is true. Yeah, that's a good point. So we will definitely, that will become the basis for something when you see $3 movies, $3 $1 movies, and we will rate them accordingly.
And now, as I sit in Captain America next week, and I'm sitting there at the back of my mind going, how many I Frankenstein? You're gonna see. It's just gonna be so much work now.
You know, I think so far, based on what I've seen out of the trailer, at least comparing trailers, they're on about a par.
I don't know, man.
They call him the Winter Soldier. This is me acting, the Winter Soldier.
Captain America's not an actor; he's a doer. I see what he does.
So as you can all tell, Shu is the comic book fan of the bunch. So he's really looking forward to Winter Soldier.
That'll be great.
Yeah.
Stupid-ass, dumbass name.
Moving on to next topic, which is I was gonna because of what's the Schwarzenegger sabotage.
He looks so weird in those trailers. I didn't even recognize him.
You know what? It's funny. Somebody actually on the bus banners and stuff like that. So he's wearing a baseball cap and sunglasses. One guy today said that he looked like David Letterman, and I thought that was which is cool because Letterman's acting career does need to he needs to get back.
Hey, he was in Cabin Boy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, he was quite solid in Cabin Boy. He wore a baseball cap and sunglasses in that, I believe.
He was selling monkeys, but that's not important right now.
All right. So let's. So because of Sabotage coming out, we're gonna do kind of a general discussion of the action genre, but instead we're just going to jump straight to the chase because Warren said something as soon as he popped on that kind of caught my interest, which was Shu and I always have fascinating discussions for hours for no apparent reason because we have no real existence about Steven Seagal and Jean-Claude Van Damme. And Shu, you fall into the Seagal camp when it comes to both of these men, correct?
Yeah. Oh boy, Yeah, I get more enjoyment out of Seagal movies than I do out of Van Damme movies.
All right.
But I get enjoyment out of, and there's an interesting separation here. Well, let's pretend it's an interesting separation and just go with that. That Seagal has a I don't want to call it endearing, but a definite kitsch factor, where there are a lot of extracurricular aspects to Seagal that make his appearances fascinating. The fact that he continues to view himself as part Cajun, part inner city black, part French, part Russian, part secret forces, part Michigander, part Seattleite, part Canadian, a little bit of Guatemalan, and a guy who certainly likes to eat his share of the all-you-can-eat buffet, regardless of what buffet that happens to be. That's
we call that American.
You really could. He is the melting pot, and he has cleaned out that melting pot on a pretty.
He's licked that melting pot clean.
Indeed, he did. So there are a lot of things about Seagal films, the earlier ones, and then the transition into the later ones. It still makes some of it interesting because you have an idea what you're going to get, but it's so bizarre that the ego runs as rampant as it does that it never fails that you get some aspect of this, and there's a certain hilarity factor that comes into play that makes the movie enjoyable on some bad level. Not on some cinematic level, but on some bad level. The problem, comparatively, with a Jean-Claude Van Damme, or another guy who I put sort of in the Van Damme category, Dolph Lundgren, is that they are much more grizzled personalities who want to act on their grizzled, tough life. They're much more. Whereas Seagal maintains this concept even well into his 50s, and as he's approaching 60, I suppose.
That usually comes after his 50s.
I mean that in stones, the British weight. Yes, as opposed to not just age.
Which, by the way, it is 5 stones to every one eye Frankenstein, if you really start figuring that out.
Well, everybody knows that. You didn't have to tell anybody.
Sorry, my bad. You're right. Basic maths.
Yeah.
Come on, we got rid of that king.
Yeah.
But
That guy.
Seagal has this ability to believe that he can hang on to the old action moves. He can hang on to still being the guy who has a partial part of his being into this mysterious secret lifestyle, and part of this being where he's still going to be the independent guy who's actually going to stick it to the evil corporation. It's largely the same theme we've seen in a number of Seagal since, I guess you could suggest, maybe Under Siege, the Under Siege films. Before that, Seagal was a little bit different. The Out for Justice films are much more in a classic lower budget
hard to kill
action vein. Lundgren and Van Damme have gone an entirely different route. They're almost trying to be modern day old style Western heroes, or anti-heroes if you would. The grizzled guy who's on one final assignment who alienated everybody because of his drinking and drug habit and all that sort of thing. And so
redemption stories.
In a weird way, they try to make better films. But when their films fail, they also lack action and lack anything that makes it interesting for 90 minutes. So Seagal is a much more entertaining overall product than Van Damme, even though Van Damme shoots for something a little bit better.
Okay, so basically you're going to say Seagal camp.
Yes, I'm in the... Yeah, sure, let's go with that.
All right.
Would you like for me to explain that again?
No, that's good. We got it.
I can try to break down the two yet a little bit more.
So that's anyway. So
oh, my speakers were down. Were you talking the whole time?
Shu's book will be available through the Kindle store. 99 cents. Starting.
We just heard the audiobook, right?
Yes, that was actually.
Please turn the tape over now.
He was actually just lip syncing some of the audiobook. But okay, sorry. So
that was longer than Van Damme's last movie.
I want to have my cake and eat it too. I want to be able to make fun of Shu's theories and still adopt them and actually support them, because I think he makes a really strong case. When I think back to the Van Damme movies I've seen, they're equally terrible as the Steven Seagal movies, but they think they're better. Like, they think they're trying to do something smarter. The hero is got a little more of a journey to go on. The Steven Seagal movies are usually the same crisis of cool arc that I talk about in Tom Cruise movies, where he starts out badass, but is he badass enough to do what he's got to do in this situation? So it's like it's a test of his badassery. Whereas the Van Damme movies, and I haven't seen a lot of the Dolph Lundgren, but that's
what we call Chuck Norris disease, by the way.
Yeah.
See, I would argue here, and I think that's an interesting point. I would argue here that Seagal isn't even as deep as Cruise is in that regard.
Yeah,
because
I agree with that.
Seagal is always, well.
No, I'm dead serious. Like when Aaron was saying that, I was
Seagal could, being able to. Never mind.
All right, well, hold on.
Here's what it is.
No. Wait 1 second here. So, Dub, Seagal camp or Van Damme camp?
I got to go Van Damme for sure.
Okay, now
sure.
Now Warren.
For sure, yeah. I don't even. For me, it's not even a close. Steven Seagal movies are atrocious. They're unwatchable, and they're certainly unrewatchable, which is the biggest failing. A Van Damme movie, as terrible as it is. Ooh, Legionnaire's on again? Yes, right. I will rewatch a Van Damme movie, but a Steven Seagal movie I can't rewatch.
Okay, Warren, Van Damme or Seagal?
I think. Oh man, let's see.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot like this.
I didn't. What are we talking about again?
Grand Budapest Hotel. Gotta go. Bye.
Doesn't Shu need to say something about this? No. See, I think Dub is giving Steven Seagal too much credit. I think if you look at every single Steven Seagal movie, he is playing Steven Seagal. He does not change from one movie to the other. There is no, is he cool enough? It's yes, he's cool enough, and these people just don't know it yet.
Right.
Like, it's not like he's trying. He's always, and he has like the one-liners. Like you can almost pencil them in, like where he's going to put in his one-liners. He's going to do his fight like in his weird way that nobody's ever going to attack him in that
the one-liners because he mumbles anymore, but the one-liners are always there.
Yeah, and he's just his movies are always the same. But that being said,
here it comes.
Yeah, that's what I was waiting for.
I find them almost fascinating to watch. Like, I can't look away from them. Now, that also being said, I haven't probably sat down to watch one of his movies in, like, 15 years. And I know he's made a bunch of, like, environmental movies, environmental action movies where he saves the oil fields or saves, snow leopards or whatever.
Yeah. Saves the oil fields.
And for Van Damme, like, I always feel like he's, like, his movies will always end up with him doing the splits between two chairs at some point. And it's like he's the guy that's always like, am I good enough? Can I be good enough? Like he's the one where I feel like, and then I don't know. He just doesn't. I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying about Van Damme. He's a conundrum.
Hold on 1 second. That's interesting.
Our host.
Sorry, that's interesting. Well, first, so it sounds to me like we have 2 Seagals, 1 Van Damme, and I fall in the Van Damme camp as well.
Yes.
But yeah, that's what I was kind of curious about because it sounded like we had even sides there. But what I'm curious about though is that it sounds to me that Warren is making the exact same argument for against Van Damme that Dub is making against Seagal, which is the how do I got to be that much cooler, or how do I get to be that much cooler by the end of the movie? Is that am I interpreting that correctly, guys?
Yeah, I think Van Damme is always going on a hero's journey in his movies. And I don't think Seagal is. You
just think Seagal is about I gotta get cooler by the end of it.
But it's like
they actually make some fair points. He never really has his coolness questioned. it is always he's this badass.
He's the coolest guy in the room from minute 1 to minute 60, depending on what direct-to-video movie he's in.
Right.
And part of what I think has happened here is that Seagal has never really grown up. Grown out, sure. Grown up, no.
Yeah.
The Seagal that you've seen from the late 80s is still attempting to do more or less those same kinds of movies now. He likes the idea of being, as Warren noted, the coolest guy in the room from the opening frame. And the thing is that while you might not know it on screen because the concept is so absurd, in the film world, everybody knows that Seagal is the coolest badass there is, okay? He's got this mysterious life that nobody gets, and you just know he's going to kick your ass if he'll kick your ass if he can, and that's just the way it is. He's never really grown up from being, he's kind of a juvenile character. He's sort of like, he was cool when he was 18, he's cool when he's 58. But in his head, it's the same kind of cool, even if, and it's cool enough for straight-to-video audiences out there who continue to buy the films that are now made in Romania as often as they're ultimately, there hasn't been a Seagal movie that's gone to the theaters in, 15 years? So they're both straight-to-video components, but there's a much more, let's go with slightly more entertaining schlock factor with Seagal that makes viewing it and recognizing what it is on that level perhaps a little bit more entertaining. Van Damme, meanwhile, has tried to grow, has legitimately tried to deepen and I know this sounds bizarre based on what we're talking about.
No, not at all, actually. I think because JCVD...
Yeah, who here saw JCVD?
Saw it in the theater with somebody in this room that isn't Warren.
I wonder if that's why we're on the Jean-Claude camp.
It's highly possible. Well, I'll tell you what.
Our souls touched by him as an artist.
What Shu mentioned to me, what mentioned about the growing up factor, is actually what I like more about Van Damme, is that theoretically he has tried to evolve in an odd way, though it is in just as egotistical a way as Seagal has tried to stay cool. And so there's the I have my
tried to stay cool.
Cool. Well, okay, sorry. He's I don't want somebody's stunt double kicking.
You might get Tai Chi'd right now in the middle of this very live broadcast.
Very live broadcast. Yeah, we'll see what happens.
You can take that to the bank.
So, he's probably said that twice. Anyway, so but I have my factor of I have this odd rating factor, or my own personal rating factor when it comes to film, which is if a movie shoots for a 10 and hits a 5, that is less than a movie that shoots for a 12 or a 15 and hits a 4, or you know what I'm saying? It's like ambition.
What's the highest number on this scale, and how many Frankensteins is it?
It's
exactly.
Why is there so much math on this show?
I know it's odd. But it's a factor of if you go for something bigger and fail at it. I respect that much more than throwing your stunt double in to then also say your lines because you can't get stuff out.
What if you don't try to be anything more than what you are, and you just go out there and you do your thing? I mean,
that is incredibly Buddhist of you, and I do respect that. But cinema is an evolving art for me. So,
but we're talking about Van Damme and Steven Seagal.
Wait.
I think it's acceptable. Okay.
Is cinema really an evolving art for you?
Yes.
How so?
It doesn't. Well, wait. Before we move on to a topic as minimal as whether or not cinema is an evolving art.
All right, fair enough.
I just want to say that when you start looking at the totality of someone's career, you need to take their evolution as an artist into account. Whether you're talking about Steven Seagal or Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Yeah, but okay.
Hey,
I appreciate
started doing one thing.
I think the other thing that you need to probably take into account is an entertainment variety on something that is ultimately a disposable medium. And in that regard, Seagal movies are generally more entertaining than Van Damme movies. If you asked me to rank the highest of both, what was the best Van Damme movie? What was the best Seagal movie? The Van Damme movies are going to end up on top. But there's a group in the middle, where it's going to be Seagal film, 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 because there's a bunch of failed Van Damme efforts that are just unwatchable, regardless
I will
of
agree
what
with you
he
there
attempts.
100%.
What is your
regardless
best...
of what he ultimately attempts to do and attempts to accomplish, more often than not, whether beyond perhaps fault of his own or whatever the case is, it may be low budget, it may be, the scripts that he picks, it may be, that whatever, that they run out of money, whatever it ultimately is, Seagal movies are generally more entertaining, even the newer ones, than Van Damme films are. And when you're watching something like this, there's only so much. For me, well, I really appreciate that he shot for the moon there, but god damn, that movie bored the shit out of me after minute 4. Whereas the Seagal movie I can watch for a longer period of time, generally speaking.
I agree with you on the flat out and we're going to call it entertainment, even though it's more like laughing at, which is a form of entertainment. I mean, it's it's the Seagal film that you're being entertained by. You're laughing at it, not with it. That's that.
Yes.
Most of the time, I think we can probably
watershed
agree on that one. But this is going to sound weird for me. I am entertained by the shooting for the moon and missing more than I am for just the cheeseball.
The cookie cutter, the blatant cookie cutter approach that you've seen from one guy for the last.
Because the cookie cutter bores me more than failure. It's like if I already know the 3-act structure and at what minute something's going to happen.
How is he going to fail this time?
Exactly. Yeah. I hate to say this.
A lot of the Van Damme films are basically the same movie too.
I would agree.
He does an awful lot of wandering off at the end of his movies.
Yeah, yes. And I felt like when it came to Van Damme, I wandered off halfway through most of them.
What do you guys think is the best of each guy? Like which, best Steven Seagal movie, best Van Damme movie?
Good question.
It is a good question. The earlier Seagals are pretty. Out for Justice is a solid action film.
Agreed.
The original Above the Law is really for a basic action film very solid. Even Under Siege, I think, is pretty well done. I think
Under Siege has so many dry wit one-liners, and it has a love interest that's so forced that he has to literally drag her around. Like it makes no sense.
You like a caveman?
What do you mean? No, all the sense you need is just look at her. That's all the sense you need.
That was a tough. I actually would have enjoyed that movie so much more had it been a silent film. I think that movie would have made an excellent silent film, and I'm only half kidding because it's so clear. It's so clear what's happening in every shot that you don't need dialogue.
That's Andrew Davis, fine aster filmmaker for you, the director of Chain Reaction, ladies and gentlemen. No, we'll give him The Fugitive.
On the other side, you're looking at, JCVD is good. There are a couple other Van Dammes that are straight to video from that general era that handle that topic earlier that I enjoyed portions of as well, and found that I was a little, I don't know if frustrated's the right word, but kind of, I guess in my own egotistical nature, felt that I was ahead of the curve on all this Van Damme craze when JCVD got all the publicity that it did. Because
he's so much hipper than the rest of us.
Where he basically did the same, where he did this in a couple other earlier movies. It's like, okay, I've kind of seen that. I know what he's sort of going for. I enjoyed it. I think Time Cop's a pretty solid film. Sudden Death is really a fun watch.
Yeah.
Directed, I believe, by Peter Hyams.
Peter Hyams is who directed both Time Cop and Sudden Death.
Right, and they're both very solid. They're by the numbers from that period, but you know what you're getting. Obviously, the director's cut of John Woo's Hard Target is actually pretty good. And maybe a lot of Woo's direction has a lot to do with that.
That is, on a side note, in my mind, the best John Woo movie made in America.
I agree with that too.
The best thing that he's directed since he's been in America.
Yep. You want to talk about the American? If you want to talk about the American slippery slope, it's John Woo.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, well, so we can discuss Woo at another moment in time.
No,
so
Friedkin next.
Oh, sorry, Friedkin next. Of course, he'll be next week. Dub, best Seagal, best Van Damme.
My best Van Damme would probably also have to be Time Cop, despite the time travel issues that we won't get into here. But it's a very enjoyable movie, and it takes very confident strides. It thinks it knows what it's doing. Seagal movie's tougher. I don't know if I could go past Above the Law.
Wow.
Oh, come on. Hard to Kill.
Yeah,
Marked for Death.
So silly.
Under Siege 2, Dark Territory.
Does Executive Decision count?
Yes, he was in it for more than 3 minutes.
Well,
Yeah.
Under Siege 2, Dark Territory is where maybe I need to see that movie again, because that's where Why Is This on Fire came from. Where I saw a version of that film edited down to PG.
We saw it on the cruise.
Right. It was and they couldn't show anymore, so he walks into a train car, he looks around, and a bunch of bad guys pull out guns, and the next hard cut is him walking out the other end, and the whole train car's on fire.
It was edited for rating.
So all the violence is edited out, and all you get is the setup and then the aftermath. I had a real hard time sort of gauging tonally what was going on in that movie.
That was actually what happened in the theater. It was impressionistic filmmaking. It was like an idea that they were really shooting for on
Is he
that
a
one.
dream?
It was interpreted. It was interpretive. Audience interpretation.
That would be a
Exactly.
pretty amazing watch.
Yeah, it was. I would love to get my hands on an edit like that. Just like I would love to see the colorized Miracle on 34th Street I watched when I was a kid.
Wow.
That was a drug-fueled haze of a crazy. Anyway, I don't have the.
Okay. So, all right, Warren.
I
But
love the law. I'm going to say first
okay.
edit. He didn't get any better. I like him young.
All right, Warren.
Steven Seagal, it'd be like Above the Law. I liked Under Siege. I like both Under Siege movies. They were it was in my Die Hard phase. It was Die Hard on a boat at that time. It came out very close.
It's exactly Die Hard on a boat. He even jumps off the edge tied to something, and they have the same shot as in Die Hard.
Yeah, I think they even cut in. I think that was actually Bruce Willis, because all of a sudden it was nighttime.
They took an alt take from Die Hard and just
I don't know why he was like, yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker. And I was like, what? I thought I heard that already. And then so it's like Above the Law or the Under Siege movies are my favorite Steven Seagal. But I enjoyed Marked for Death, and I enjoyed Steven Seagal is Hard to Kill. That was that's how I can't just say Hard to Kill. It's Steven Seagal is Hard to Kill.
You really internalized that TV game.
And then I guess for Van Damme, Time Cop was really a good movie. It was, it's out of all his movies. His early movies like Bloodsport and those kind of movies that always seem to take place off in Southeast Asia somewhere in some battle. There's a couple of them. But I think Time Cop and Hard Target, I think are my two favorites.
Nice. Okay, I'm gonna have to go with I think I'll agree on the Hard Target for Van Damme, though. And Out of Sight. Out for Justice for Seagal. But the one that I wish we'd all seen these so we could compare them. But they're two directorial efforts, which would have been for Van Damme. He directed The Quest.
I did not see it, but I know of it.
It's
great.
It's fascinatingly horrible. It's
No.
No. I think. Are you sure? It's pretty fucking bad. It's fascinating, but it's. Entertainment value wise, it's top notch, but it's pretty fucking bad. And then so what was Seagal's with
had James Bond in it, right?
Yes, it did. Yeah, Roger Moore was the bad guy.
Roger Moore was in that.
Yeah, and then on Seagal's side, it was his environmental one. It was the oil ducts on Deadly Ground. Michael Caine was the bad guy in that one because Brits are bad guys in these guys' movies apparently. And Michael Caine's hair is slick black from the oil. And my favorite part about that movie is that Seagal, it's an environmental message. At the same time, Seagal is blowing up oil rigs and shit. So it's completely throwing stuff into the atmosphere and destroying the ecology around it. So it doesn't make any sense. But it's
You're here to help nature, not your crazy science.
Exactly. Easily Out for Justice and Hard Target, the director's cut.
Do you have the director's cut?
I'd have to take a look around. I might. Oh, Gabe used to have it on Laserdisc, though it may have suffered from laser rot by now. So it's.
Who is Gabe?
I mean Tremendo.
El Tremendo. Sorry.
El Tremendo. So, anyways, okay. So, I guess we just have to face the fact that there may never be an answer as to who is better, Seagal or Jean-Claude Van Damme.
There's probably a mathematical equation we could figure out.
How many?
It turns into an irrational number, though. It's like a Fibonacci sequence. They were about the Da Vinci Code.
And the answer is pi.
It's always pi.
Wait, so we can't wrap up because I've got homework.
No. I know. So before we get going here, Dub, you're going to express you're going to share with us homework because next week we're going to be discussing William Friedkin.
It's math homework, isn't it?
It's always math. No? Oh, okay. So next week we're going to be discussing William Friedkin, who in mid-April, Sorcerer, one of his most underrated movies, and for a while underseen until its resurgence, probably starting about a decade ago. It started gaining popularity again. Sorcerer will be out on Blu-ray, completely restored, remastered 4K presentation or some hokum like that. So looking forward to finally seeing that in its beautiful widescreen format, 185 Blu-ray. So Dub, go ahead, tell us what our homework is for next week.
So I went looking through the IMDb page of William Friedkin just to see which of his stuff I had missed, and I didn't realize how steady he was working. But we'll get into that next week. He tried getting into TV after To Live and Die in L.A., and I'm thinking he was trying to go the Michael Mann route. And he did a movie called Cat Squad.
Cat Squad. He did Cat Squad and Cat Squad 2, yeah.
Yes. I can't find any clips of Cat Squad anywhere online.
Yeah, I think those were actually TV movies.
They were TV movies.
Yeah.
But how do you know of them?
I know of them only because I read a William Friedkin.
Has anybody ever seen a frame of these movies?
You think they don't exist?
I think it's a sham. I don't think Cat Squad ever existed. I can't find proof of it anywhere. Somebody find me proof of Cat Squad. Now,
does still photos count? What's viable here?
I need to see a clip somewhere.
Na Cat Squad.
Okay, so
it stood for Counter Assault Terrorist Squad, which kind of makes them sound like terrorists. I just have to point that out. You're the Counter Assault Terrorist Squad. Wait a minute, you're a terrorist squad? Whatever. Fighting against terrorists.
So the pitch meeting went something like this. It's called Cat Squad. Oh, what does that stand for? Are they cats? No, it's counter assault.
I'm sorry. Counter Assault Tactical Squad.
Tactical. Oh, that's not as funny.
You just you killed your own joke.
No, the point is, I want to see the opening credits.
I'm sorry, that's not William Friedkin. It was Steven Spielberg. Never mind. Let's talk about something else.
Braiklin. That would be my bag. No, I want to see what he did in TV.
I should probably look at the computer monitor over here.
I was gonna say, well, he directed an episode of CSI, like in its third or fourth season.
As a favor for a buddy, you know. He's still making feature films. We can talk more about him later, but after To Live and Die in L.A., he did 2 TV movies in the late 80s, one called Cat Squad, and because Cat Squad was so successful, he made Cat Squad Python Wolf. Cat Squad Python Wolf. They're very animalistic titles.
Yeah.
And I want to see what this is. I'm desperate to see it.
Is that why you saw Bug?
That would be a sci-fi movie.
That's why you saw Bug, isn't it?
Python Wolf? No, I didn't see Bug. I mean, I had seen Bug, but...
All right, so next week we are going to be discussing the life and times of William Friedkin, discover the lost masterpieces of Cat Squad and Cat Squad Python Wolf. What year were those?
The original Cat Squad came out in 1986, and then it took them a couple of years to get the band back together for Cat Squad: Python Wolf in 1988.
All right, and then I believe Tremendo is going to deliver his dissertation on the Nick Nolte classic Blue Chips.
Okay, that should be good.
Yeah, yeah. And then no, he's not. He's oh. So check this out. We can, since he's not here, I can piss on him a little bit. Tremendo has never seen the French Connection.
Yeah, he admitted that publicly on Facebook.
Really?
Yeah.
I wonder what those 6 people think of him now.
I think.
Oh.
Well,
That's
5 of them also being on Facebook are thinking the French what?
Yeah, that's
Is that like a pastry?
Is that like French Facebook?
Is that where French people date?
Is that how French people meet each other?
How French people meet?
On the nose, French.
They are so together, the French.
FrenchPeople.com.
So next week.
Hello, URL. I'm registering.
Next week.
The FrenchConnection.com. Where French people go to meet. Gene Hackman.
He'll be your first friend every time.
Yeah, he's like Tom from MySpace.
Yeah, he'll always.
Between now and then, though, I'm going to try and see either Killer Joe or The Hunted, because I haven't seen those.
I would recommend Killer Joe over The Hunted any day of the week on that one.
The Hunted sounds boring. Killer Joe sounds disturbing.
Yeah, Killer Joe is disturbing in a black comedy, messed up way. It was also adapted from a play by Terry Lutz, who did Bug.
Wasn't he in Hercules 3D?
Terry Lutz, yes. Terry Lutz played Hercules.
Oh no, I'm thinking of Kellen Lutz.
Right.
Yeah, I saw The Hunted.
Actor and a writer, huh?
Yeah, The Hunted is not great. Friedkin has had a very up and down, weird career.
Yeah, we'll get to it.
And we'll get to that next week. So we will 1016, ladies and gentlemen, and our viewer who is Barbara Roscoe Graff, who we've not said hello to yet, or admitted to that. We figured out that's who it was.
He's been commenting on Google Plus, so I'm expecting my Google Plus feed to be blowing up.
Yeah, I'm not sure we're gonna have to figure that one out. I'm not sure how we. Oh, look, look at this. I've got 32 emails from her. That dub guy is cute. If I didn't know better, I'd think your description of House of Cards would indicate it's a Sorkin's show. Does Aaron Eckhart get a scale?
These were all very timely, I imagine.
Yeah. That dub guy's cute. When are you going to talk about Frozen? Didn't we talk about Frozen like our first show? See, this is what happens when you come in late. Go back to episode 1, and you can hear us discuss Frozen. We could use the single view. All right. So now we've now gotten through all of our viewer mail. Good job. All right. So Dub, where can people find you at? Other than that.
It's at the Twitter handle there, at FilmGeekDub. I'm going to try and be a little more active on that account.
Barbara will be very happy about that.
She's not.
Shu.
I
Yes.
am still here.
You have a new book coming out. Would you like to promote it?
Yeah, it has to do with why Steven Seagal is better than Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Yeah.
And there are about 678 reasons as to why. I expound. It's an audio book. You can get it off audible.com, and I spend 4 minutes and 13 seconds on each reason. So there's plenty of material there. None of it is redundant at all. Also, you can usually find me after 9 o'clock at the Tucson Cheap Theater.
And explain the poster behind for our viewer.
Oh, the poster behind me is.
The viewer left. Never mind.
Okay. There will be no explanation of Dragons Forever, which for.
Let's start with what the hell is behind Shu. It should be what are you watching and what the hell is behind Shu.
I'm up for that. So Shu, you can figure out a theme for what the hell is behind Shu next week that you can play on your wooden kazoo.
Fantastic.
Which is probably worth a lot since it's wooden. But yeah, explain Dragons Forever really quick.
Dragons Forever is a Jackie Chan film. It's one of the. Now you have to rate Chan films, I think, basically on stunt levels. And And in regards to that, there are a lot of Chans that get plenty of attention. The police story movies, crime story, certainly the Project A's, and then his ventures into the American film scene, which take them for what it's worth. But of the Asian Jackie Chan films that I think it kind of lost in the conversation, Dragons Forever is the best of the bunch. It also has Sammo Hung, and it has, and I'm sure I'll butcher his name, first name Y-U-E-N, last name B-A-I-O. I don't think he's related to Scott Baio. So it's like Yun Bao, something like that, who is the most athletic of the three. The stunts in this film are fantastic. And if you watch it on that merit, there's a great fight scene. There's a great lengthy fight scene in a warehouse toward the end of the film that is very painful to watch. But in regards to, if you're a Jackie Chan fan and like some of the old Asian fare, this is one that I would recommend, and it's a poster I had no idea I had until a few weeks ago, and now I have it, and there it is. Proof that I have a Jackie Chan poster. I have no idea why.
And what's your Twitter handle, real quick?
We needed proof.
With them, no. Let's go with Shuniverse.
All right, sounds good to me. At Shuniverse. Warren.
What? Just a painting.
Tell us about your painting.
This is from Jackie Chan's first. I don't know. What's the question?
Where can folks find you?
You can find me at Warren Graff on Twitter.
And that's that. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I am John Santo. You can find me at John Santo. Join us next week for a deep dive into the life and career of William Friedkin. Shu, play us out.
Oh, sure. Hold on.
Yep. We'll see you next week, folks. Bye-bye.